Hello and welcome to episode 272 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and let's start with the world champ, the NBA champion Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
And I'm going to brag on myself because I picked them to win in 6, and it's the first time I picked anything right in God knows how long. So I'm excited that I got it right. A little disappointed in the series, though, because it wasn't really that good of a series.
No, it really wasn't.
In fact, the Game 6 was one of the worst deciding games I think I've ever seen. It was just, they climbed back to within 9. I mean, 9 is the closest they got.
Yeah. And the Celtics have been really good in elimination games up to that point.
So, if I'm looking at the Celtics, I mean, you could say they need a point guard, but that team, they all turned the ball over, every one of them.
Yeah. And we haven't heard anything, but Jason Tatum did not, he's a weird player.
Did not show up.
No.
Yeah.
13 points. And he looks like one of the best players in the NBA one game, and then you barely notice he's on the court the next game.
No, I know. I can't understand it.
And he's young.
Very, very disappointed in his play in the last 3 games.
And he's 24, and again, we have not seen anything. He was shaking that arm an awful lot, like you had a stinger. So I don't know if there's some kind of nerve thing that he did, or, and obviously nothing. It's Sunday night now, and nothing has come out as of yet. So, but you're hoping there's something there that's just not,
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. I mean, he'd have brilliant games and then nothing. And I don't know. They just that whole Game 6, they looked like Game 5 and Game 6. They just looked like they were done.
Mm-hmm. And the Golden State defense had a lot to do with it, especially a guy we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, they played really, really well, and but over 20-some turnovers every game. I mean, that's just, you can't win. There's no way. You can't give the ball. And a lot of those turnovers were starting breaks or 3-on-2s on the other end, so they're really bad turnovers.
Extremely so, yes. I mean, your glass half full Celtics is everybody's under contract. Tatum is a 24-year-old all-star that seems like a franchise player. The new coach seems like he's doing a good job. And, you're coming back to the East where you basically, right now, you're going to have a healthy Bucks team to deal with. But you got Jimmy Butler is getting older and can't stay on the floor on Miami. I mean, not that Miami's probably not going to do something, but as of right now, I don't see them as a threat. Brooklyn and Philadelphia both seem like messes. Right?
Yeah.
Atlanta became a huge disappointment. So you've got a pretty good shot of running it back, I think. If you're the East.
We'll see.
Yeah.
When I was looking at the odds, I mean, Golden State's the favorite to win again. And then I think Boston is like in the top 3.
And Milwaukee's got to be there.
The one that surprised me was like Phoenix was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think Phoenix might be done.
Well, yeah, they're probably going to have to do some retooling.
Yeah. I mean, you still have a terrible owner out there. And a bad organization, which isn't great. Chris Paul does not look like I think he's just a tragic figure that's just never going to win it all. He just can't hold up, and he's now going to be 37 or 38 as a small guard. You got the DeAndre Ayton situation, which sort of blew up in their face. I don't know if you should have paid him or not. I can't answer that question. I think only time will tell, but it clearly didn't help them this year by not paying him. And now you're probably going to lose.
So if they didn't pay him last year, and the way he played down the stretch this year, I wouldn't pay him next year either.
No, but you're probably going to lose that asset for nothing now,
Yeah, you could.
And then I think if there's a Tatum of the West, it might be Booker, who, can look like the best player on the floor one game and then not for a couple of games. And maybe that's fair to him, maybe that's not. But,
Oh, that's a little extreme. I think he's better than that.
Okay. Yeah, I've not seen him do it on a consistent basis. in games that count anyway. But if you're Golden State, you got to look at Denver, who's supposedly going to be healthy. Dallas just asked that, they added Christian Wood, who's a very talented yet problematic player. New Orleans with a Zion guy. Memphis, obviously, coming back with a second year. You still do have Phoenix. Yeah. You got Minnesota, who's kind of intriguing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we had a good NBA season, and then we got the draft coming up with some interesting players coming out, so we'll have to see.
And then I guess you have to mention the Clippers in Los Angeles as well, right?
I guess you do. I'm not sold.
No, I mean...
I'm not buying.
A healthy Kawhi and Paul George?
Yeah, no, I'm not buying.
Okay. But I mean, I just feel like, I think we can eliminate the Lakers, although technically if you're bringing back LeBron and AD together, I mean, you could still make that argument, I guess. Austin Reeves, Horton Tucker.
Yeah, he might add anything, and I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, let's switch sports and talk.
Well, I still think we got to talk a little more Golden State. I think we got to give a lot of props to Air Canada because I think Andrew Wiggins he showed out all year. Was a starting All-Star, which I know is fan voted, and Golden State really shows out with the fan votes. But he was the second best player in the finals.
Yeah, and I think he demonstrated he deserved to be the All-Star.
Yeah, I mean he was Scottie Pippen to Steph's Jordan, if you will. His rebounding was
outstanding. Times when he took over the game.
Yeah, his rebounding was outstanding. His defense was fantastic, and like you talked a little bit off air. It's a weird position if you're another team. He's a free agent, coming off an All-Star appearance. He's still under 30. He just played. He just won a championship. And you look at his Minnesota years. Decent stats, but he had 4 coaches in 6 seasons. A lot of instability in that organization. Is he finally matured and he's ready to go and he's the kind of guy you want to throw a max deal at? Or would you be, is he, or you're afraid of, outside of the Golden State system, outside of, Steve Kerr and Atkinson and Clay and Steph and Draymond, can he still be an impact player for your team? Right?
Right. And if you're Golden State, you're going to have to get rid of somebody to keep.
Yeah. I think if you're Golden State, you would love to do a sign and trade with him and try and trade with Poole and build up that war chest again. And then right now, I'm going to surprise you with every other talking head show is talking about it, and I know we don't want to mimic them, but maybe let's just throw it out from time to time. Is Steph a top 10 player in the NBA now?
Yes.
All time? Because you got the obvious. You got Jordan. You got LeBron. You got Kareem, right? You probably throw in Magic.
You have to say he's the best shooting guard ever.
I mean, you probably throw in Magic and Bird, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, underrated Tim Duncan. I still 9 championships, 11 total as the coach/player. Bill Russell's got to be in there, right?
Right.
Is Wilt ahead of Steph?
Well, I don't think the decade thing is one problem.
Right.
Part of it. They played in different eras, and it's hard to compare. And then, we haven't mentioned one other person that plays the position Steph does.
And who are we talking about?
And so I think, if you say, is he the all-time best at his position? If you say his position is shooting guard.
Yeah.
You kind of have to say yes, right? But, he's kind of like a point shooting guard, I guess, right?
I guess more point shooting guard. Then you got Kobe. Because now if you're talking the end of a top 10 player list, you're probably talking Kobe. Yeah. You're talking Shaq. You're talking Tim Duncan. Maybe Akeem Olajuwon. Those are the players, those are those probably 6 through 15 guys you're getting into. But Steph has been to 6 finals. He's won 4 finals. 2 regular season MVPs. He should have 2 finals MVPs. He probably should have got the one over Iguodala, but, whatever. He won before Kevin Durant, and now he's won without Kevin Durant again. as the best player on the team. And when he had Kevin Durant, he did stuff that other NBA stars have never been able to do, which is, stand down, I guess, on some level, right? Alter his
Yeah, I
game
mean,
to help his team win.
you know, I've just never seen a better shooter ever.
No. And he's, you could argue that, in this new era of the NBA, which I know the analytics has been a big part of it, but I think he and Clay's ability to shoot sort of push that in a little, move it forward a little bit more, Because he makes their numbers look incredible with the threes.
And I've never seen anybody touch and get rid of the ball quicker.
No. And again, it's hard to argue that he's not a very selfless team guy. Like, he just seems to be,
Yeah.
He seems to have enough ego to be the best player, but not enough ego to rub people the wrong way and not, like when he came back off the injury and he was coming off the bench, like we talked about a few weeks ago, like there are very few guys in the NBA that'll do that. Russ, we love Russ Westbrook still on this show, maybe irrationally so, but he won't do that.
No.
Can't see Harden doing that. I can't see LeBron ever doing that. And I think that's something that, as he worked himself, it wasn't obviously permanent, but he didn't care that, he did that. And I think that's incredible. In a very, branded, egotistical society we live in, he was still able to do that. So,
Yeah, he's just, I got to say, if you consider positions, he's got to be in the top 2 or 3 of anybody that's ever played that position.
agreed. And he's a really good passer. And he moves without the ball. He does all the,
Yeah.
I think at some point you get to
He's had
that.
just a phenomenal year. I mean, he really propelled himself.
Yeah. And at some point, top 10 sort of, as more and more time passes, I still like that pyramid idea of the Hall of Fame where it's almost like a nightclub where you have to be, since you've let all these people in, they're already in the club. Now you start having various VIP sections, and the top level of the pyramid is just all-time greats. And there's no need to put them in any sort of random order. You can argue about the order because people seem to love to do that, but, Karl Malone is never getting to the top floor. Great player, Hall of Famer. He's not allowed on the top floor.
No.
Whereas Jordan, LeBron, all the guys we talked about, they get VIP access to the top floor. And I think Steph would probably, at this point, he gets to go to the top floor.
I agree. I've just never seen anybody shoot as well as he shoots.
No. And that organization, Bob Myers, has done a really nice job, of putting together that team and making those trades and, especially the D'Angelo Russell trade where you got a first round pick and Wiggins for D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
Who is now on the shopping or the block himself to see if somebody can move him. But yeah, it was very exciting.
Well, now we'll talk about hockey.
Okay.
The Lightning I thought the Lightning looked terrible in the first 2 games against the Rangers, but I don't think that terrible is anywhere near this terrible. I realize they lost the first game in overtime.
Yes.
But they still, to me, didn't look good. And yesterday they looked horrendous. So I originally thought this series would go 7 games. I don't see any way it goes 7 games. I can't see the Lightning winning 4 in a row like they did against the Rangers. I can't see it.
No, I tend to agree, but I mean, it's weird as to say, but I mean, 3 Stanley Cup finals in 5 years they've been to now.
Yeah.
And they keep, defying the odds every single series. So.
Well, Barry Melrose isn't counting them out.
No. They sort of got that Michael Myers, Jason quality where it's like, they've earned that. They could be down 3-0 and I still would give them a chance. I wouldn't probably spend money and bet on it, but, I mean, they've earned that level of, okay, maybe. Which is, somewhat high praise, I suppose, for a team, right?
Yeah. I just don't, I'm not optimistic. I'm really not.
Yeah. But it's okay. like I said, they've been incredibly successful. They're a great organization, and
They really have. I agree.
you know, they're sort of in that icing on the cake gravy stage at this point. If they were somehow to come back, and they win this one, then my God.
Well, if they come back and win this, they could be the first team to win the finals down 2-0.
Yeah. But again, the goalie probably had his worst game of his career in game 2. And we'll have to see how he bounces back from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen that many guys skating free, getting fairly good looks at the net.
No, that was a sloppy, terrible game. But I mean, I think if you're the Lightning on the one hand, you could be like, look, we all played like absolute collective garbage. Let's throw.
There's nothing,
Yeah.
That game it's not like you barely lost or you made a mistake. I mean, you got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to forget that
I
and
think
move
so.
on. But it's still going to be, if you're Colorado, you're smelling blood.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying
You're
but
going to go in there and win 1 out of 2, and go back to Colorado where you got 2 out of 3.
yeah, I mean it's lined up for him, but they've entered that zone where I just don't know.
We will have to see.
Yeah.
But watch a little bit of the U.S. Open. Wow, what a tough golf course. I mean, really tough. And, the wind plays havoc, and it's a real up and down with elevated greens and real narrow fairways, and the rough is rough. I mean, I've seen some guys having hit out of stuff that, if I was playing, I'd just pick my ball up and move it. I mean, you're sickle to hit some of the stuff they got to hit. So I think today will be a pretty intriguing day in the U.S. Open for any of the golf fans. Don't know who I would pick today. It's just so anybody that's not more than 5 strokes out could win, because you could easily lose 5 strokes on this course.
Yes, indeed.
So now we'll talk about College World Series, and it's interesting because we've had 4 unseeded teams beat the seeded teams. So so out of the 8 top seeds, 4 made the World Series, and now 4 of those are. I take it back. 4 of the top 16 seeds made the World Series, and now they've all lost. So they're all in, elimination games. And so I'm going to go on a prediction here. I'm going to predict that Arkansas, who absolutely mauled Stanford 17-2 yesterday. They're my favorite to win because they've been there for, I think, 2 out of the last 3 years. They were favored to win it last year. They weren't favored to win it this year. And I just think that they've got everything going on. I think Arkansas could win this. And that's my pick as to who's going to win.
Okay.
But I also like the Notre Dame team is very intriguing. And they're fun to watch. So we've in Oklahoma, didn't get won the Big 12 tournament, didn't get a regional, didn't get a super regional. And they won both of those on the road, and then they came in and just trounced their first opponent. So, Oklahoma's a wild card. I mean, they're playing the best they've played in the last 6 weeks. And that's usually what you want.
Yeah.
Who's hot going in.
It's very true.
So I'm enjoying watching that, and so that'll be pretty good. One more basketball thing. What did you think about the Golden State assistant that was offered the Hornets head coaching job, accepted it, then turned it down to stay with Golden State and become the top assistant because the top assistant is moving on to Sacramento?
Well, I think anyone that's followed Steve Kerr, both health-wise and career-wise, knows that he's probably not going to coach forever. And maybe you'd rather be the coach in waiting another year at Golden State than you would be, go to a Charlotte situation that, we didn't mention them when we talked about contenders again.
Yeah.
And I think it might be. I mean, I think sometimes too, and this is probably not just basketball and coaching and things along those lines, but he's obviously well compensated. If he's happy in the city that he lives in, his family is happy. Maybe that's more.
Mhm.
He's been a head coach before.
And not a real successful one.
No, so maybe he understands his role. Maybe he knows that as the head assistant. I mean, Golden State's going to be good next year, barring crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There's always going to be coaching opportunities, and maybe Charlotte's just not an organization he was really, like I said, maybe Steve Kerr does another year, and then maybe that job's open. And I mean,
Yeah,
as we
maybe
talked
so.
about,
Maybe they had a conversation about that.
yeah,
Interesting story to follow.
I think so. And then I've been trying to decide who I really like in this draft. And I think the main reason I don't like Chet Holmgren is I don't like the way he looks. And not that he's not like Greg Oden. Like, he runs fluidly. But he's got those weird hunched over shoulders. And he's a super skinny guy, and I'm holding it against him.
I've said the same thing. I don't think he's my number one pick.
Like, he's got the most upside. He's had a really nice, he looks like he's got all the tools and he would fit in almost any team. But he doesn't look like I want a basketball player to look, and therefore I don't want to draft him. But again, like, he's not the Greg Oden type where you watch him run and you're like, there's something, despite this being a world-class athlete, there's some sort of weird hitch or something in his gait that makes me worry about his long-term future. Like, that's not what I'm seeing with him.
So the draft is what? This week? Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
Well, it'll be interesting. Our friends the Magic have the number one pick.
I know. And they like length. So we'll see.
I hope the Magic get it right. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, people seem to think this is a very good top three. There's obviously not like a Zion or a LeBron again, which usually happens to the Magic after the Penny Hardaway / back-to-back Shaq picks, or Webber, whatever it was. But yeah, it seems like there's 4 guys in this draft people really, really like. So we'll have to see what the Magic can do. All I've seen them do so far is they're shopping Terrence Ross for multiple second-round picks. But I don't know if that indicates anything for the draft.
Well, you've got enough general managers there, so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It will be.
Shout out to the New York Yankees who just keep winning, keep piling it on.
Yeah. I guess an unshout out
Jameson
to
Taillon, ex-Pirate, is now 8-1.
Yeah, I know. We liked him. I mean, he's great as a minor leaguer. We loved him as a draft pick, so it's bizarre that he just went away for what they ended up getting.
Yeah. It's
And
tough.
I keep seeing everybody say it, so I assume there must be some reasoning behind it, but I know the NFL doesn't care because they are the definition of Teflon. But at this point, don't you just put Deshaun Watson on commissioner's exempt list, paid leave, whatever you're going to do, and just try to get it out of the, Like, I don't know what you're waiting for at this point if you're Roger Goodell and the NFL owners.
Well, you're waiting for a smoking gun that makes your decision easier, but you're not going to get one because all those court cases won't even start till 2023.
No, and I think they're ultimately always going to be, you're not getting, there's no murder, there's no, there's not a lot of physical and or video evidence. It's going to come down to the consistency of 26 now as opposed to 20. That's the other hysterical thing about this case is like when I think they're up to 24 or 26. I don't know if it's up to 26 now, but I heard those rumors that it was going to be 26 total, but that somehow that when it went to 24 it made a big difference, and I'm like, it was already 22. Like, I don't know what the difference with that was for some people.
Yeah.
And he has done it. They need to keep him off the microphone too, because he is, presumed innocent, I suppose, but he is not good on that microphone. Because they brought him in for his introductory Cleveland press conference, and it's just not a good look for him to talk right now.
Yeah, they got to make a decision shortly here before training camp, so we'll see.
Yeah. And I'm still surprised they haven't just, the Baker Mayfield situation. Although on some level, like if Baker was to just
Well,
stay,
you didn't. You had him not come to camp, so
yeah,
you're waiting to see who's going to give you something. I mean, and that's all you can do. If you're Cleveland, you want to get something. You don't want to pay all $18 million.
no. And I saw that Nick Caserio of the Texans said the trade is official. You can't get your picks back to Cleveland, or something basically to the like of, yeah, it's over. Don't worry. You're not getting anything back. And again, if this goes the way it could potentially go, this could end up being the worst trade in NFL history.
Yeah, he could end up sitting out the entire year.
Oh, I think he's gone the entire year. It's just a matter of like.
So you're moved off of the 6 to the whole year now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think even in outside of today's climate, which I mean, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, you look at Tyreek Hill, and you look at Ben Roethlisberger, and they were all significantly less than what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And they all got 6. And that was before Me Too and before some of the other. I mean, I think you got to suspend him for a year, and that's the minimum.
Well, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk entertainment. Let's get upbeat.
All right.
Some entertainment.
All right. I'll start with the first one. It's an old one, but back in the day, I had watched some Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then obviously the way during the pandemic with all the police stuff, it wasn't the show I really wanted to watch. But it's a really funny show. Andre Braugher, Terry Crews, everybody on that show is hilarious, and it's a very fun, silly sitcom set in a police station, set around Andy Samberg. So I'm sure people know what that show is, because I think it started in 2007, so it's far from a new show, but it holds up really well. And again, if you just want a nice, silly sitcom, and there are 7 seasons. So
that's hard to believe. I didn't realize there were 7 seasons of that.
I think there were 6, and then there was one 2 years ago where they were on a different network. But it's 22 episodes a season. You get, if you're looking, we like having a sitcom in our house to watch, for that last hour,
Sure.
Unwind before bed.
Yeah, I agree. We do the same thing.
So it's nice to have something like that, I guess. And then the other one, which is, it's a much slower show, but Truth Be Told, which is a series on Apple Plus, TV Plus. It stars Octavia Spencer as a true crime podcaster. And it's sort of her doing the entire season of her podcast while looking into a crime. And we watched the trailer for season 2. In season 2, it's the same friends and family members, but it's an entirely new case. But in season 1, she was a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, and she wrote a bunch of articles 19 years ago about Aaron Paul as a teenage murderer. And now, 19 years later, she thinks he might be innocent, so she's launching her podcast to try and right a wrong that she created 19 years ago.
Yeah, Mom and I watched it. We thought it was pretty good the first year.
Oh, you did? I talked to Mom. She said you didn't think you watched it. Okay. Well,
If I didn't watch it, I watched something else really similar to it.
Okay, yeah. It sort of does a good job of looking at the, as she's digging up the past and looking for the truth, which is an important aspect. Like, she's obviously disrupting. There's a lot of, innocent bystanders that get caught back up in this whole thing 19 years later, both emotionally and,
I'm sure.
whether they deserve to or not. I think it does a good job of putting that out. And obviously, Octavia Spencer, Aaron Paul, you got a lot of really good actors in it. In season 2, you have
really good.
Yeah, in season 2, you have Kate Hudson as some sort of rich CEO that, may be involved in her husband's murder or something. But I think we're going to take a break from that show for a little while, but I think we're definitely going to go back for season 2.
Okay. I got a food moment. I went back, but I've talked about this before. I went back to Casa San Stefano and had went out with a couple friends and had a great dinner, swordfish. Somebody had ravioli. Another guy had sea bass. Appetizers were great. And again, nobody ever had dessert. you're full, you're happy, and you've eaten a great meal, and not a ridiculous price. But like we said, Richard Gosmart, who owns the Columbia, knows how to run a restaurant.
We made a food mistake. Is that a segment on our show?
Sure.
So the other night we had quite a bit of wine. We were hungry late night, and we just wanted something. We wanted something through the delivery service that was as fast as possible. So we ordered Domino's because it was also 50% off their pizza. Their pizza is it's awful.
You broke up. Whose pizza was it?
Domino's.
Oh.
Because we figured, a little bit buzzed from some wine, 50% off can't be that bad. It's terrible pizza.
Yeah, it could be.
It's bland. The sauce is like very sweet ketchupy flavor. The cheese has no flavor. The crust is super doughy. America, what the hell? That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, I got another food moment. In fact, I posted it on Facebook and Twitter. Mom made homemade New England style hot dog buns.
Oh.
And they were amazing. Okay, amazing.
And for people listening, they also look just like lobster rolls.
Yeah, Mom. Look at my Facebook page or look at my Twitter feed. The pictures are unbelievable.
Nice.
And then, so one day I grilled the hot dogs on a grill, and then yesterday we did the air fryer hot dogs. Which you put slits in them and put them in the air fryer for about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And you take them out, you put the hot dog in the bun and put that in for 2. It's unbelievable.
Really?
Yes. I will tell you, an air fryer hot dog is awesome.
I've never even thought about putting an air fryer in a hot dog, or a hot dog in an air fryer, I should say.
Well, I will send you the photo of the buns. The buns were amazing.
Yeah, now I'm very excited. Now I almost want to go buy hot dogs at the store.
They were really good. But I mean, you split them and they just crisp up, and the casing, you get the natural casing dog, and it's tremendous.
Okay. Yeah. That is exciting.
Well, I guess that's it. I'm going to watch College World Series this week, watch the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And get ready for the NFL.
And get ready for a lot of Steeler talk.
Yes.
All right. So until next
All right,
week.
Have a good week. Happy Father's Day to everybody.